Welcome back. We continue our special coverage. Following the ratification of the National Action Charter, the National Assembly was formed of two chambers, the Shura Council and the Council of Representatives, which collaboratively perform their duties with constant coordination. With its 40 appointed members, the Shura Council has played a significant role throughout the years in terms of creating an advanced democratic environment and remarkable political action in the kingdom. To know more about the achievements of the Shura Council as well as its local and international roles, we would like to welcome the Shura Council's member, Dr. Jemila السلمان. Hello, Dr. Jamila, and thank you so much for coming here to our special coverage.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me today with you.
Dr. Jamila, I would like to start with, can you tell us about the stages of development witnessed by the legislative work and how they paved the way towards today's political prosperity?
Well, we can start, by saying that the reform project of His Majesty the King has really laid the foundation for all the legislative work that we are living today and whatever we could have progressed so far, which led actually to a lot of progress and achievement at all levels, including the legislative work. And I can say that, started actually at earlier stages and start to crystallize when the people of Bahrain had voted for the favor and in favor for the National Action Charter on 14th February in 2001. And actually that was with the highest percentage recorded in the Kingdom of Bahrain. And after that, the process of development has continued, where the Constitution have given the right for the people to vote who represent them. And as you mentioned, for the National Assembly, we have the two chambers. The chamber, for the Shura Council, where, His Majesty the King appoints the member. And then we have the Council of Representation, where the people can vote for who represent them in that council. And this is a really great step. And after that, really, you will see a lot of development, a lot of, changes, where there were a lot of amendment to the Constitution and really helped where a lot of legislation has been developed and really shape the way we are living and the political prosperity that we are living today. And by international standard, the Kingdom of Bahrain actually is really an advanced country where we reached a higher and probably the highest level with legislation, comparing it and really in pace with the international development.
And as you said, Dr. Jamila, the ratification of the National Action Charter has paved the way for all sectors and it achieved many accomplishments after that ratification. Which brings me to my next question. How did the National Action Charter consolidate Bahrain's legislative action?
Well, the National Action Charter really played a pivotal and very important role in the fundamental and, in all the contribution for the democratic development and reform. And actually, it's been as the reference for all the legislative work at all levels, which include economy, security, human rights. So it's been the base for everything and really pave the way and give the roadmap for all the legislative work that we are doing and all the legislation that has been established. It took into consideration what has to be done and all the laws in favor for the Kingdom of Bahrain and the people of Bahrain.
The National Action Charter also paved the way for Bahraini women to really have their voice and have their role and be an equal partner in the kingdom. And many accomplishments has happened ever since, thanks to the support of His Majesty the King and the efforts of Her Royal Highness the wife of His Majesty the King. Which brings me to my next question. How do you value the royal trust and constant support towards women in the legislative field?
Well, actually, His Majesty the King is, one of the greatest supporter for, the women in Bahrain in general at all levels, and special attention to the, the women in the legislative sector. And as you know now in the Shura Council, we are 10-member female, and that's around 25% of all the Shura Council. And that really reflects the trust His Majesty has in the Bahraini woman and faith that they really can contribute significantly to the work of legislation. And all the ladies, all the members that we have in the Shura Council, they are really the finest in their diverse subspecialties, and really they can contribute significantly and making sure in to implement all this legislation comprehensively and smoothly.
Dr. Jamila, the Shura Council's committees are the pillars of its legislative performance. Can you tell us about the role of both services as well as women and child affairs committees and how their performance is integrated with other committees to serve the aspired goals?
All the committees within, within the Shura Council, really they work together and an integrated way. and all of them in their subspecialty. So all of them, they revised the same probably and related legislation and came up with those laws that really help and support the legislative work in the Kingdom of Bahrain. In regard to the two committees that you mentioned, where, you know, in the first one, which is the Services Committee, which I'm a member in it, actually this committee specializes in, you know, all the legislation and laws related to the health, education, vocational training, labor matters, social development, education. So all of this, you know, whatever related to these, you know, subspecialty is being revised and being discussed within this committee. In regard to the other committee, which is the Women and Child Affairs Committee, as a deputy of the chair of the committee, actually this committee looks to revise all those laws to make sure that they are appropriate for, you know, the women and children of Bahrain. At the same time, you know, the committee actually revise and study all what's referred from law, you know, new law, suggestion of law or legislation, and really after a thorough study of this legislation, we have to submit a report to the council to be implemented. At the same time, this committee actually give the opinion for other committees, whatever is relation to the child and women development, and even for the implementation, make sure the implementation of whatever refers from the, you know, from the Parliament division for all international decision and recommendation that's been implemented, and we follow this in the Kingdom of Bahrain.
And speaking of which, the Kingdom of Bahrain made huge strides in the field of women and child rights. How did the National Action Charter lay the foundation of women and child rights protection in the kingdom?
You know, we can say really that in general, you know, societies cannot and never, you know, will be able to thrive without having the basic foundation that really can shape and encourage, you know, the pathway forward and really lift all the, you know, achievement and the goals we are looking for. And we are believe, and one of the most these values is the freedom, you know, and the freedom for the family in general, women, children, families, based on the concept that really the family are the basic building, block in the Kingdom of Bahrain. So having, you know, these family and, you know, giving them the freedom and the safety really will build for you a strong, you know, and free society. And really we are fostering within the new generation the most important values, you know, the values of religion, the love for the homeland, and all those, you know, moral, you know, good morals that we believe in the Kingdom of Bahrain.
And following up on that question, how do you value the constant progress witnessed by legislative work regarding preserving child's rights in particular, and what are the indications of success?
Well, you know, Kingdom of Bahrain actually really did really a major step and advancement for the child protection. That through several pathways. One of them is legislation. The other one is the agreement that we signed with the United Nations and ratification of the all international convention. What we are doing, and at the same time, every once in a while we are establishing and really having new initiative in the Kingdom of Bahrain for the child protection. From the legislation part, actually, probably you know that we have in Bahrain that's been issued the child law, which is number 37 for the 2012. And actually, this law had, you know, been the reference for all the child protection, and, you know, and to avoid the maltreatment for children, and really has to the, you know, led to the establishment of the restorative justice law for children and the restorative justice committee and court for the children. At the same time, we have the child protection program and center of Bahrain, which we're really proud of it, because it gives all the guidance, all the the procedure, how to implement it, and even the penalties if there's something happen wrong. At the same time, we provide everything that these children may need, from, you know, rehabilitation or assessment, whether they need to be referred to specialized center or hospital, or even any of the welfare centers. So it has the whole picture and the whole whatever is needed to protect our children in Bahrain.
Bahrain always pays great attention to these rights, women's rights, child's rights, and human rights in general. In performing its role, the Shura Council collaborates with several institutions. How do you value such cooperation, and how does it contribute positively to achieve the desired goals?
Well, the Shura Council is very open to international collaboration and collaboration with similar, you know, organization or institution, whether regionally or internationally, in the vision of His Excellency, of His Majesty, the King of Bahrain. And that really helped, you know, this cooperation with similar bodies and institutions really helped to formalize and strengthen even the legislative work within the Kingdom Bahrain, and sharing our experience with other countries that really will reflect back in our achievement in the Kingdom Bahrain. So it's really much appreciated, and the Shura Council actually had draw a kind of mapping for this collaboration, which should help for for the future of our work in the Kingdom.
And all of these achievements that you just mentioned have reached earned Bahrain an international recognition regionally and globally. Which brings me to my next question. The cooperation with regional and global Shura councils and democratic institutions are pillars of the council's work. Tell us more about the significance of that.
As I said again, this collaboration is really very important, and that collaboration is fundamental to the council work and parliamentary cooperation and diplomacy nature, which really goes in hand with the approach of the government for all the foreign affairs diplomacy under the leadership of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince, the Prime Minister. So that all help in really implementing and enacting all these legislation at the regional and international level.
And Dr. Jamila, what's the importance of sharing Bahrain's success stories in the legislative field?
Well, that's really very important. I think, Bahrain as a democratic country, we really have a lot of success story that we can share, with the other countries in the world, and really that will increase the sense of patriotism and really give us the strength, the justice and the legislation authority give us strength to share their success, their role, their authority with the other, brotherly countries that really can help and really can empower, Bahrain and other countries for anything related to legislation.
Sharing Bahrain's success stories, I think, is very important, as well as sharing expertise with other countries at the same time. How do you value the international recognition of Bahraini women's success in the legislative field?
Well, I think we've seen over the last, especially within the last 2 decades, how the Bahraini woman really has contributed to legislation, stood for the election, and actually, even headed the council for representation. And this is really, and it's really a sense of pride, not only for Bahraini women, actually for even the Arab world. And I think this has been recognized and has been well perceived by all the countries. And this is where really we see how the Bahraini woman has been put on the scene of the national democratic scene in Bahrain, and how she's contributing to the whole process.
The Kingdom of Bahrain can really be a model in the field of women's rights and empowerment globally and regionally. Last but not least, from your point of view, how do you see the future of Bahraini women's contribution to the various aspects of national development?
Well, in shortcut, amazing. I think the Supreme Council of Women, led by Her Royal Highness the Princess Sabika bint Ibrahim Al Khalifa, wife of the King, has really given all the support and encouragement for Bahraini women to be able to take their parts and duty in developing and improving everything actually at all level in the Kingdom of Bahrain. And the Bahraini men and women really works as partner, for all development and progress in the Kingdom of Bahrain, and that empower the Bahraini women. Really, they were able to take a leadership position at local level and international level, governmental and private sector. And I think you'll see more because of the strength and the capabilities that the Bahraini women have shown so far, and we are looking for actually more achievement.
Dr. Jamila, would you like to add anything before we conclude?
Well, I think, thank you so much for having me today. And I think, Bahrain as a democratic country, we have a lot of success story and a lot of achievement, and we are looking for more in the future and in the near future, inshallah.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for being with us. It's a pleasure having you in this special coverage.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure.